from the 28th to the 11th of August. And there's a whole huge programme of events organised. And one of the guests who will be speaking will be Majella O'Donnell, who's going to be presenting the theme, I suppose, for discussion will be Take Charge of Your Life. And we're going to be talking to Majella in a moment. But first of all, let's talk to Breda Friel, who is chair of BCCS. Breda, nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you, Shaun.
Now, just tell us first of all about the background to Feel Good Fortnight.
Yeah. BCCS has been going since 2009, and we do information, awareness, education, training all around improving mental health and well-being. And every year we do an event. This year we decided to do something totally different. So we came up with the idea of a Feel Good Fortnight. And we've been working with other groups and with other voluntary organisations and with the businesses and with the council.
It has a more optimistic sort of sound to it even,
yes,
doesn't it?
And really it comes from that whole idea that we don't have to do a lot to start making ourselves and other people feel better. So we were amazed at even how much people wanted to get on board, the businesses and the local groups. So what you have there, we have a whole calendar now of 2 weeks of activities and programmes and workshops, and with a range of events from programmes for families, like family fitness programmes in one of the local gyms, from the Feel Good cupcake, which has been one of the coffee cup, and Feel Good sausage, which has been one of the butchers.
Feel Good sausage?
Yes, one of the butchers is, I don't know what's in it.
What's that when it's at home?
Fat-free.
All right. I always feel good after I've had a nice sausage or fry up in the morning or whatever. Very, very nice.
One of the main events is the event on the 2nd of August with Majella in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel.
Now, Majella, you're here, and nice to see you, it is.
Hi, Shaun. It's good to be here.
Well, you know, when I first heard you had talked publicly about your own depression you've had in your life, I suppose I was surprised. Why? Well, I don't know whether I was surprised you had depression or surprised that you talked about it, because a lot of people don't want to talk about it because immediately, you know, it's seen as a kind of as a weakness.
Absolutely. When I started talking about it first, I wasn't intentionally even talking about it. It was just something that came up in conversation, and the reaction was like amazing. It was the Ryan Tuberty. I did an interview with Ryan, and the phone started ringing, and you know, people were phoning up saying, "Isn't she great? Isn't she brave?" I didn't see it that way at all. I was kind of thinking, is it really that big a deal? You know, I have depression, so, you know, so what? Lots of people have it. And then people were saying how much it helped them, the letters that I had from people saying it's great to see somebody like you talking about it. And I thought, geez, well, that's great. If I can actually help somebody by talking about my experience, then I'm very happy to do so. So it's down to us people that have depression to be open and not to be ashamed. Then I think other people will accept it a bit more and will learn to realise that it's a normal thing.
When did you realise that you had depression and it wasn't just, you know, the ups and downs of life that we all have?
I suppose really not until I was 40 did I realise, or 38, something like that. But I'd had serious bouts of depression, but I thought, as you just said, oh, well, you know, well, like if I split up from my boyfriend or whatever, I might be down for 6 months. And I mean, but I just thought, oh, that's what happens.
That's
when
normal.
you split up. That's normal. Yeah, I thought, you know, I didn't realise that, geez, this is depression.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realise it. And you feel your self-worth is nil. You feel like you're a nuisance. You're better off out of it all. Your people could do without you. You feel sorry for them having to put up with you because you might be narky or irritable at times, or you don't want to do anything, and just all that thing.
And what happened at 40 that made you realise that it was depression? Was it something you read, or?
Well, I had, up until that stage, I had read an awful lot. I would have, I suppose, brought up with the attitude of get up, you're grand, get on with it, and a slap around the ear and stop moaning and that kind of thing. So I always kind of tried to, I would not be a person that would sit back and feel sorry for myself. So when I was going through those periods, I would start reading self-help books and, you know, how can I be more positive and how can I get myself out of this rut. And I saw psychologists and I went on courses, you know, like positive thinking courses, life coaching, all that kind of stuff. And I suppose when I was 40, I had another bout of depression. I thought, Jesus, even though I'm doing all that, it's still happening to me. What is it? So I went to the doctor and I said, look, I did a questionnaire on the computer and it said, you're suffering from acute depression. Took it, printed it out, went to the doctor, said it, gave it to him and I said, that's what it says. But I couldn't be suffering from depression. I said, I'm a real positive thinker. I don't blah, blah, blah. The next thing I was roaring crying and I didn't even know why. And he said to me, you're depressed. And, nothing you should be ashamed of. It's like somebody coming to me with diabetes or high blood pressure. I give them medication and it, evens it out, sorts the problem, and off you go. And he did. He gave me antidepressants. I was very lucky the one I was given worked for me.
Now, how did you feel about being handed these tablets when you left the doctors? Did you think, great, maybe I'll start to feel better, or did you think, oh dear, now I have something to worry about?
No, I didn't. I felt the way he said it to me, yes, I would have been very against antidepressants. What does that mean? Oh my God, Prozac. I'll be going around like I'm in a state of just no reaction, not feeling up, not feeling down, just being flat. Rubbish, So that's why I was kind of thinking, I don't really want to go down that road, which is why I did all this work. But when he said it to me, when he gave me that analogy that it's like somebody coming to me with diabetes and saying, doctor, I've read all the books. I totally understand. I'm really against diabetes, but I still have it. He said, just nothing you can help it, but you can't cure it. So he gave me the medication. And
apart from the medication, though, I mean, the medication is one side, but that won't in itself solve the issue, won't, solve the problem, whatever the problem is. You've got to then find out what's causing the depression.
Absolutely.
So what was that? What was on that strategy?
That's what I said. My past was brought up. Why?
You understand that now?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But you didn't know before.
No.
Did somebody have to tell you, or through the counselling, were you answering it yourself?
Absolutely, you answer it yourself. You pay for counselling sometimes, and you literally walk out and you think, geez, they never actually said anything. I thought I would go in and say, this is my problem, what'll I do?
Tell me what's wrong, yeah.
They don't.
No.
So yes, it is. But a lot of it now, it wouldn't have been all psychologists. It would have been books. It would have been reading a book and saying, God almighty, that's me.
But the problem, Majella, with books, if you're depressed, is you can't read the blooming things because you can't focus for long enough, you can't concentrate for long enough.
Absolutely. But now I can only speak about my experiences, and I cannot speak for everybody with depression at all. I can only speak for me, and if I can help someone, that's great. My depression periods are periodically. So I go down and I come up.
You feel it
still do.
You feel it coming on, do you?
Absolutely. I get narky, snappy. Poor Daniel, God love my God, he puts up with me. That's the way I start going first, and then I don't want to do anything and I don't want to go anywhere. So
you don't know why you're annoyed, but you're annoyed.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I know it's coming on, and it still does. I haven't got it sorted.
Right.
I never will.
Right.
But
you know what it is now.
I know what it is, and all I want to try to do in this presentation, if you like, is to say, look, this is the kind of thing I try to do. Yes, I understand that when you're really, really down there, you can't do anything. And I would be the first one to say, I can only lie in bed all day long. Lie in bed all day long. If you feel that blooming bad and you can lie in bed, lie in bed. But there'll be days when you feel a little bit better. Get up and go for a walk. Go for a good long walk. It'll produce hormones in you that'll maybe just take you a little. Yeah. That kind of thing that I want to try.
It's a bit like, I suppose, when the door opens a bit, push it a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't still lie in the bed and look at the door saying, it's a little bit up, but I can't be bothered. If you have any emphasis at all.
So before you had treatment for it, which is trying to kind of helping the brain chemicals, if you like, how bad did it get for you?
Well, as I said to you, I still get down now, and I do, but I don't get the suicidal thoughts. I used to get them.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the depth of the dark.
Oh God, yeah. I just would think with 100% clarity and conviction that everybody would be so much better without me. I totally believe that and totally, understand that.
Is that always, though, everybody else will be better, that's why I'll do it, or I just don't want to be here anymore?
Both, absolutely. And that's a very interesting question you should ask me, actually, because I think mostly I get more down because of what I'm doing to other people. If I'm down, I feel guilty, I feel bad for as it is now, Daniel, for 2 days I might lie in the settee with a dressing gown on me and I don't even want to cook the dinner. And it's like, please just leave me alone. I'm down at the moment. Just let me do this. Come back to me in a couple of days. And he literally has to do his own thing. And that brings on guilt. But I now know that it doesn't last. You know, I will
and he
come
knows.
back out. He knows as well.
Yeah, but I mean, in the early years of a relationship, did you try and mask it much harder than you would? Now you can be honest about it because he knows and you know and everything else. But in the early years, would you have tried to mask that because you'd have thought, God, he's not going to want to stay with me, this man. You'd have had such a nightmare. Did you ever try and mask it?
No, I suppose really when I'd met him first, everything was so exciting. You're almost on an up, you've something to focus on. So, you know, it's only when everything settles down and you're in your day-to-day life sometimes that you can go. But, you know, I met this guy and a chance of another relationship. So I didn't get down there until I suppose after we were married. I didn't feel like that until after we were married.
Whenever you were down and lying on that sofa and thinking, or in the bed and thinking, oh God, this is not, I just don't want this anymore. What stopped you? Did you think of ways to do it?
Oh, I did, absolutely. What stopped me? I didn't have the guts. I genuinely, and I said that before, that maybe it meant I wasn't as bad. I just don't know. And again, I'm speaking as a lay person, and I don't want to say anything that's wrong or that offends anybody or anything, but I just don't know that there's just a moment, something that makes you go ahead. I don't know, but I've definitely thought about it. I'm a coward. You know, I wouldn't want to do it in a violent way. I'd want to do it in a gentle way, whatever that meant. Yes, all those thoughts went through my head, but I never did it. And I'm so glad because, you know, if you ask for help and you try to help yourself, a lot of the times you can. That's the positive thing. If there's hope, if you have a little bit of hope, then you have something. Yeah,
but I think maybe part of the secret to your well-being now is because you have managed to label it and you have managed to understand your moods and say, well, I know I'm going to be okay again. You know, I know this too will pass, as they say.
Absolutely.
You know. Whereas for people who maybe do eventually, die by suicide, they've just got back into this again, and here they are again in this sense of despair, and they just think, I can't do this anymore, Breda.
And there is that moment. And one of the things that you talked about, Majella, which is that moment where people feel in that despair. And for us, it's about getting that message out that there is help. Reach out to anybody. Reach out to somebody close to you. There will be help. Because one of the things is that when people are feeling so down and so lost
and afraid,
those are the points at which we want to pull people back. So that's why as much as communities and groups and individuals can come together to say, you know what, there is somebody there that will stop you, so that we can reach out and get a message to people in those moments. Don't be frightened. You know, whatever, we will try and find that chink of light for you at the end of that long tunnel, and we will help you towards it.
We need someone, don't we, I suppose, to hold our hands at times, even as adults, and be there in very difficult times. But saying the wrong thing to a person, like you, Majella, me saying to you at that point, lying in your bed, oh, for God's sake, get up. Would you look at the people who are starving in the world and look at this? You get all that, of course.
Absolutely. And that makes you feel worse because you're there in your house with, you know, in a comfortable warm bed and food in the fridge and whatever, you know. And yes, then you think, oh, Jesus, yes, I'm even worse. Look at me. I can't even. So that's so the wrong thing. You know, it really, really is. I'm hoping to get more and more involved with depression and self-help here in Donegal. It's something that it's only beginning to really come to light in our society now. You know, before it was always a physical illness. You know, if you have a terrible pain in your stomach, you can rush to A&E and say, somebody help me. But if you're there on the edge of a cliff, and I mean that in a metaphorical way, you can't. There's nobody that you can go to there and then and say, there's almost like we need an emergency department for people.
Absolutely.
Who are feeling, oh my God, I feel
because I'm not sure Casualty's a place for them, to be honest.
Not at all.
And that's the thing that we are all, like all the groups, and we have a very good network of groups and statutory services here in Inishowen, Donegal, who are all working together to try and improve access to services. We want to basically try and improve access through the professional services and the voluntary services so that everybody works together towards a better outcome.
Which can I just say then, in that point, Shaun, which is why I think this Feel Good Fortnight in Buncrana is fantastic. I was just saying to Breda there, I was looking at the brochure. I wish I was living in Buncrana that I could go to all of them, because there are events here that are going to lift people. As you said, this isn't a let's go in and all talk about depression and be really. This is about uplifting. This is about the positive side of it. This is about trying to think positively and trying to do something. When I say take charge of your life.
Well, on that then, I mean, now that you know, and now you've had treatment and have treatment, what are you doing to? Because you said you're still going to go. You know, you're going to get depressed. You might be okay today. You might be sort of middle or high.
I was terrible 3 weeks ago.
Right. And you know in maybe 3 weeks you might be terrible again.
And maybe I won't.
And you'll feel it coming on. So how do you deal with that now? You go to bed?
Well, firstly, I will tell people around me.
Right.
You know, and I'll explain, look, I can feel, you know, a bit narky. I feel a bit tired. Please, you know, maybe this is something coming on. Just be gentle with me. If I'm a bit unreasonable, just try and understand. I'm very, very lucky in every sense in that, you know, I have time to myself. My children are grown up, so I can say to myself, right, this is going to happen to me now, and I'll go out and I'll walk. Yes, I don't feel like it. I just want to sit in front of the television and watch.
Make yourself.
You know, make yourself go out for a walk. It's unbelievable if you do an hour brisk walking. Just when you come back and you think, Jesus, that you achieved something.
I did something.
You know, I did something, and I actually feel a little bit better for that now. That's where I'm coming from in the talk that I'm talking about, that you can take charge of your life. You can do something about it. It's not all out with your control.
Do you know why? Have you found out why you are depressed?
Well, I believe it's a chemical imbalance with me. Yes, absolutely. And the reason I say that is because I have no reason. There are no triggers. Well, not that I'm aware of, unless stress brings it or something. I don't know. People just assume that there has to be something major.
You can trace this back to being, a lot of people can, I presume, trace it back to being a depressed child, but didn't even know you were depressed.
Yeah, I don't think I was. I think I was a very, very happy-go-lucky person. But
then you thought that as an adult, didn't you, until you really got counselling? You thought you were okay, like.
Well, I did. No, it was 1920. When I started having relationships, that's when I started, when I would feel rejection, couldn't handle it. So you mightn't realise as a child, and then of course you take what you've been brought up with, exactly, and then as an adult you start reacting in different, and then you think,
this rejection thing is such a big issue, you know, and I know that, you know, it can happen in situations with males and females where they have a rejection, and it can lead to some people taking that decision to literally die.
Yeah. And it's linked to self-worth, you see.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things is the whole idea of rejection or abandonment and feeling worthless and shame.
Absolutely.
It must be me, it must be me.
Absolutely.
And really what we're saying, you know, with things like rejection and abandonment, it's that whole idea of holding on to who you are, which is why the talk that Majella's doing, and for us, we're just absolutely delighted that you've come and that you're agreed to do this. We're so lucky, and
it's your first, isn't it? Real?
Yes. I mean, they approached me, and I was surprised. But as I said, if there's anything, if me just talking about it, one thing I can do is talk.
But I had heard Majella talk. There was an event on in Dublin called Walk in My Shoes. And I'd heard Majella talk at that, and we thought, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could get a presentation here? That's why we're delighted. But like you said, the whole idea of people being able to take charge of their life, you know, so that if I am rejected in a relationship or feel abandoned, I don't go to feeling worthless or shame or bad.
There's just somebody texting in to say, it's a good question actually. Ask Majella if she's still taking the medication. I'm asking because each time I try to cut them down, no matter how little or how slow, I end up crying again, like at the beginning, and I so hate it. I'm afraid to tell people I work with because I know they'll be liable.
I know exactly how she feels, because I'll tell you, I was taking them.
And she admires you, big kiss, it says. So there you
lovely.
Are.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And she's a healthcare worker.
I was taking them, and after I married Daniel, for about 3 or 4 years after I married him, I said, why am I taking these? Why am I taking these? Everything is perfect. I'll be grand. So I weaned myself off them very slowly, and I hit the bottom like a ton of bricks. All I can say to that caller or that texter is, why are you stopping them? If they're working for you, You know, she's not the first person to say that to me. Now, I'm not saying if your doctor has recommended different. I will take them, and yes, I do. I take them every single day, and I will take them for the rest of my life. So if you feel good on them and you've got no side effects and they're not worrying you, keep taking them with your doctors.
It's been great hearing from you. There's a lot of calls coming in. People on suicide. There's a sense of elevation of finally my pain will soon be over. You never got to that point.
I did not. No.
You didn't get to that point, but you almost did. Looking back.
Yeah.
But one thing is, I'm sure of this, talking about it, and people hearing you today, it can only do good. I'm sure there'll be people relating and saying, that's me, you know?
Yeah.
And the good news is life is better. You still have your downs.
Absolutely. I can handle it better. And please, anybody, don't feel
go to your doctor.
Shamed or don't feel, just get out there and don't be, you know, it's an illness and don't be ashamed of it.
Doctors talking about it every day of the week. You won't be the first, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You've nothing to be ashamed of. And good luck with this Feel Good Fortnight as well.
It's next Thursday. The event in the Inishowen Gateway, the event with Majella, is next Thursday afternoon, the 2nd of August at 2:00. And people can contact the hotel or if they want to kind of book a place.
And there's loads happening. Find them on Facebook under Feel Good Fortnight.
Or www.feelgoodfortnight.com.